everybody can be good at jiu-jitsu, right? Everyone in that room was a standout talent of grappling, right? Like everyone there was good. But I learned that social media and being on the camera and understanding how to be there like that. You said you saw just me, and that was the thing is cameras would turn on, people would get mic'd up, and then you would feel this eerie tension, like everybody was trying to jump in and talk, or you had guys that were super talkative and had hilarious stories, and then you just can't say anything till the camera's on, and they're choking it down. So that experience, I think, gave me like after the first day, I was just like, okay, so we're just gonna be ourselves and be a whole bunch of jiu-jitsu dudes, arm wrestling, and having fun and having a good time and all that kind of stuff. Uh, so yeah, it gave me that experience I needed to be comfortable in front of the camera and also understand it's just, just the world seeing us for who we are.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcast for Rafa Sparza coming to you with another great installment of the Grappling Hour. I hope you're having a pretty good day. We have an excellent guest. We're going to get to him in a sec, but here's a preview of him. So if you've ever wondered what cowboy Jared Leto is up to, he is right here waiting over on the side. We're going to get to him in just a second. But first, back on to me. If you guys enjoy this show, I hope that you do. Check us out at patreon.com. That is patreon.com/grappling hour. If you go there, here's what you get. For $5 a month, you can see my interviews 30 days before anybody else. And for a few extra dollars, you get to see extra bonus segments not available anywhere else, including tape studies with the athletes, where we watch fights together or their matches together. And we also do a segment called Roast Raf, where people roast my competition footage. Your favorite segment, my least favorite segment. But it does play for whatever reason. You can also see a segment called the Grappling Hour Challenge, where we put submissions on a card. We hand them to the athletes, and they have 2 minutes to get that on me. However, I get to roast them. Amongst those, we also ask our favorite athletes, like who are the favorite people they've gone up against, their favorite matches or the fights of the year. So we do that only at patreon.com/grappling hour for our premium users. But if you're just a regular access user, you will see my interviews 30 days before anybody else. And yes, before you even bitch about having to pay another subscription, there is a free membership. You don't get as much cool stuff, but you are the first to see when new interviews like this go up, even before they go up on YouTube sometimes. So just saying, hint, if you're wondering when an interview goes up, maybe go to the Patreon first. Wink. Okay, I think that's it. All right, easy enough. If you guys want to get some Grappling Hour merch, you can head on over to rafsparza.com/merch. Get you a tank top, a hoodie, a t-shirt. And with the tank tops, here's our rule now. If you're on steroids and you wear a Grappling Hour tank top, I don't care. That's it. You can be on steroids. I don't even give a shit anymore. But if you're supporting the brand, you just make us look better. And cosmetically, it sells more things. So I'll look the other way. However, if you're not wearing a Grappling Hour tank, we will report you to USADA. That is our rule for 2026. So there's a lot of you out there. We won't name names, or will we? Go to rafasparza.com/merch and get you one there. I think you thought I was going to take a drink, right? Like, I thought I was going to take a drink. I was like, wait, I'm still talking. Professional. All right, let's go to the last couple things before we get on over to our guest. You can like, comment, and subscribe if you like this show, and I hope that you do. And I get it. Sometimes you don't want to give me a like, but you probably like the guest. The majority of the reason you're turning in right now is because of the guest. So I'd say if you like Austin, give us a like on the show. And if you don't know what you want to comment on in the comment section, by the end of this episode, I will give you a prompt to consider and write in the comment section responding to. Okay. Last but not least, you can join us at the Grappling Hour Discord if you want to continue the conversations that we have here on the show. All right. Our guest has just punched his ticket to the PGF. You may recognize him from his awesome stint on UFC BJJ, the reality series, or as we called it here, the Ultimate Grappler. But this young man is very well mannered. He wears a cowboy hat. Yes, he does bear a resemblance to Cowboy Jared Leto, and that was the joke that I ran with when he was on the UFC BJJ show. But I have to tell you, I have been enthralled with this young man and his ability to connect with people. He's got an excellent story, and I'm looking forward to him competing at the upcoming season of the PGF, where the draft kicks off on February 4th. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome for the very first time, one Austin Oranday. How are you doing, sir?
Doing good, Raph. How are you?
Not too bad. Okay, let me just address this right up top. You have a cowboy hat, and that's all I want to call you. So I know this is intentional, but are you going to be mad at me throughout the season if I just go, okay, cowboy hat over here is doing X or Y or Z?
No, can't be mad. No one's mad at the cowboy.
You'd be amazed. A lot of the times, these people who say you can't offend me are easily offended. And we are talking people who say they have thick joke skins, but do not.
I've never met a cowboy that doesn't have thick skin, though, you know?
Fair enough. Where did you become one with the hat? When did this enter your style, your fashion sense? Where did you decide that this was going to become part of who you are?
When I moved where I am now in Lumberton, Texas. So I'm actually, I grew up in Houston, kind of a city boy. I was born down here where I am now, but we moved away when I was so little that I never grew up as a cowboy. Never liked the country. I was a city boy at heart. And then we moved back down to Southeast Texas. We're kind of a smaller city when we first moved, and then I moved out here to the sticks in Lumberton, and just became one with it.
May I ask a qualifying question here?
Go ahead.
Do you teach in the cowboy hat?
Not often, not often. Sometimes the kids class.
Okay. Because I just started thinking, I was like, listen, dude, I can do it for appearances. I can do it. Even you walking in with that at the draft puts you at least one step above some of the yahoos that are going to come in with no fashion. So I'm excited for that. But then I started thinking out loud. I was like, wait, does he teach like that? So um, I just don't know. Do you get lost in the melee because you do live in Texas, correct?
Mhm.
So this
I do.
doesn't stand out in Texas. How
It
do you
doesn't, not
stand
especially
out?
where I'm at.
Yeah, I was about to say, how do you stand out then when you are in Texas and you are wearing that
You don't.
hat?
You just look normal.
I will say, you do have the right head shape and the incredible hair. How long have you been growing the hair, sir?
Ooh, I think I'm on 2.5 years, no haircut, but I started from mullet. So I was trying to fit in over here. So it kind of just went from a mullet to this mane.
I mean, I noticed that as I was doing my research and watched your previous matches. I looked to see and double check that the name listed was the same human being in the video because you had a few different looks.
Oh yeah. It was a long time, just straight up military, bust on the sides, high and tight, and then kind of turned into a mullet somewhere in the early 20s, and then now in my later 20s is just this long luscious hair.
So, have you given any thought to how you're going to come dressed for the draft?
Oh, full get up, full get up. Got some capybara boots, a nice Puma boot scooting boots, some jeans, the hat. Be looking sharp.
Okay. Because to me, I just feel like that hat talks a certain game that the rest of the apparel is going to have to back up. And I don't know if you know this, but we are the official barometers of who is best dressed, mostly because nobody else does it, but mainly because we here at the show do on the pre show select who wins. And you would think it's not coveted, but we have people lobbying us when they do not win.
Oh, I have a strong feeling that you're gonna like my honky tonkin get up.
I'm feeling very good about that. I will tell you though, right now, I just did an interview with Kim. heard yesterday, and that man let it be known, even though he has a secure place on a team, he is coming to the draft just so that he makes a statement with this fashion. So let it be known it is a high stakes game from the minute you guys start.
We'll see. We'll see.
Love that. Okay. Speaking of Cam, he is on the Kings. One thing that I have seen you go hard in the paint, especially on Egg's podcast, you were making the appeal to the Kings. And you make a great assessment as to why you align. Do you mind walking the people here through why you feel you are best aligned with the Kings or that you have an interest in them?
So I think alignment wise on the values, we align very well, right? The team's a very Christian team. They're trying to put on a good example, good sportsmanship like conduct. I think we align morally really strong, but I think the team synergy aligns very strong as well. I think Cam's a great top player. He's that guy that's going to start the bell, pressure you until you die. Really hard to score points on. He doesn't give up submissions easily. And then you have me and Jet that are going to be strong points putters on the board. We don't have slow submissions. We're really good at, going out there and getting those elbow genie points and having quick leg locks and good guard players. So I think the synergy there is really well. But to be honest with you, I think I synergize with every team. I've, at that time on Egghead's podcast, I only talked to the Kings at that point. Met them at the qualifiers, and now I've had a chance to talk with 3 out of the 4 teams. So I don't think I'm going to be a bad match on any team. Honestly, I
Okay.
think I'm going to be that number one draft to the teams.
Thank God. Because when I heard you going hard in the paint with them, I was like, young man, the answer is who pays you. So I'm glad you
No,
had time to chat with other people.
I didn't realize either. I didn't know that every team can only sign 2 guys preseason. So I thought I was just going to get a pre-sign, not have to go to the draft, and I thought it was going to be one of those things they just sign you for what you think you're worth, and we call it a day. And little did I know the pay is fixed, and that there's only 2 per team, and every team has theirs now. So
Yeah,
um, I'm going for. At that point, I found that out. I got to talk to the other teams. I realized that I fit alignment wise with all the teams, but it doesn't really, all of them are good people trying to do good things. They have their little twists and their little differences, but I think I'm going to make a good addition to no matter what team I end up on.
for sure. And think of it like this, they're also starting to build a culture. Like each team is so new that they're just barely kind of figuring out who they are. Kevin, of
Exactly.
course, with the Kings was the first franchise, so they have a little bit of an edge. Plus, they already had a history with the PGF before that. So they've
Absolutely.
kind of carved their scene and they made it something very, very interesting. The reason I bring this up then is because when you had these meetings with these other teams, did they ask you about that? Did they say like, "Hey, we heard you talking about how you would like to be on one team. Well, what's the
We
deal,
we did
bud?"
talk about it's one of the actually first things I brought up to him. I started the conversation with it was more so that they made a good impression, and my assumptions were completely wrong. I thought we could sign as many guys pre-draft. I was looking for that guarantee, like, okay, here's what I'm worth, lock me down, and then we can just call this a day. No one has to go out to a draft or anything like that. But then once realizing the rules and how the PGF works a little bit more, because I've watched the seasons, I've watched the highlights. I've been watching since like season 4, 3, 4, or maybe 4, 5, and then catching clips of the seasons, even if I didn't watch the whole thing through. But the only season I ever watched a draft was season 8, and that was just to see where Jet got drafted.
Mm.
Because neutral opponent we fought before, PGF started to pique my interest as wanting to compete. So I was like, I wonder where this kid's going to line up. And then obviously, number one draft is very fitting for the number one guy. So I didn't stay on long to understand the rules or how things worked. And I think all the teams have interests. So or three out of the 4 I've talked to. I just have one more that hopefully I'll have a meeting with in the next week.
Well, that's great to hear, man. And like I said, there are strange things that happen here. There are things that are beyond our control. There still is a large opportunity that you end up on the Kings, but I feel like this courtship new angle that we're doing is an important element of teaching people what it does feel like to be a professional athlete in different arenas, because This is similar to the way that people take scouting meetings or that they become familiar with different franchises. Like if the Dodgers called me up today and said, "Hey, we need a new interviewer," there has to be a feeling out process, even for the talent that they acquire. So I love that this is happening. And I didn't know enough to know where you were in that signing process. But hearing you explain it on Eggs podcast was enough for me to go, well, I wonder if they would have something to say. So it shows a lot about your character that you brought it up first. So kudos to you for doing that because I have to point this out. UFC BJJ, the whole show, it was all over the place in terms of we're trying to do 20 things all at once. And there's a lot that they did well. And there's some stuff that as a TV guy, I was kind of like, oh, I wish they would do this or this or this. For you, it looked like you still looked like your true authentic self as a character. And that for me is very difficult to do when reality TV is good at editing things. So for you, what was that experience like and what did you take the most out of that experience?
I learned more that everybody can be good at jiu-jitsu, right? Everyone in that room was a standout talent of grappling, right? Like everyone there was good. But I learned that social media and being on the camera and understanding how to be there like that. You said you saw just me, and that was the thing is cameras would turn on, people would get mic'd up, and then you would feel this eerie tension, like everybody was trying to jump in and talk, or you had guys that were super talkative and had hilarious stories, and then you just can't say anything till the camera's on, and they're choking it down. So that experience, I think, gave me like after the first day, I was just like, okay, so we're just gonna be ourselves and be a whole bunch of jiu-jitsu dudes, arm wrestling, and having fun and having a good time and all that kind of stuff. Uh, so yeah, it gave me that experience I needed to be comfortable in front of the camera and also understand it's just the world seeing us for who we are.
Yeah, I work in TV, as I mentioned. So there were moments when I could kind of see through the editing and I could see my familiarity with people. Let's put that together. The number of athletes I know on that show, the way I know they carry themselves, and the likelihood of the reasons they got cast. Juxtapose that with literal zero drama that was on the screen. And then realizing, hmm, some of those things seem interesting. And then realizing when people were holding court or telling stories, when I did see it, I was kind of like, okay, I know when they know the camera is on them too. So listen, it's reality TV. It's how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to be interesting. And I don't know if you're familiar with this show. There is a show called The Traders, and it is on
I'm
NBC. It's on Peacock. So think of it like a reality competition series, which now you have experience being on. The whole premise is 20 people, usually celebrities, get together and they go to a mansion, and three of them are in this game told to be killers. Like they're like a mob or mafia, if you've ever played that. And so their job is to like do these challenges and secretly be amongst the people, but also every night they get to kill like one person. And what ends up happening is you get this marriage of people being like, that's a bad person. I didn't know that they were a traitor and they were mean and they were bad to me. And it's like, it's a game.
Yeah.
It is a game. And it's silly to watch these people cross these two genres together of reality and competition. So what I do like about shows like UFC BJJ or seeing you guys get some shine is we at least get to see your athletic ability come through, and then we get to see peaks of your jiu-jitsu, if not the whole thing. So if anything, we just kind of get to see those miniature things and samples. We mentioned that from the media side, but what from like the technique side or the learning side for your jiu-jitsu game did you implement or take away from that experience?
Yeah, a couple good roles with William Tackett. I'm sorry, Andrew Tackett, and that he taught me some good wrestling things, some good details there. But to be honest with you, I know my experience on my team, the green team, Team Gabriel, was much different than Team Mikey, where my brother-in-law was, Carlos Enrique. We didn't do a whole lot. We drilled some things and techniques that we've all seen before, and really it was more on the athletes to kind of make their training. There was points where it was like a pretty fundamental class. It was, hey, sweep for sweep, takedown for takedown. And as athletes, me and Johnny Grip will get to exchange some things. Me and Tackett got to exchange some things. But there was nothing really coming from the coach that was mind boggling and new and, that fed into our games. It was just more so training with a lot of really tough guys on the team, which is always good. Having a room full of killers is amazing. But it's didn't well, wasn't like the same room as Mikey's team, from what I understand. Like Carlos came back with a plethora of new leg lock techniques and things that he studied from watching X, Y, or Z. Talking to Davis, the guy that broke my foot on the show, he broke down. Mikey broke down per opponent. He watched over 50 of my matches to break down and say, "Hey, this is the path to beat the kid." Which I've worked a lot this year to change everything that Mikey said, but still, it's I think the experience as being on the green team was much different than being on Mikey's team.
That's understandable. Hmm. I think part of my question initially was not that you were going to learn it from necessarily, say, the coaches, because when I watched it, I didn't get the impression that was happening either. I kind of saw what it was, and there was a moment where objectively, if I was watching it, I was like, a couple of the guys who were in the cast could have easily been the coaches. And, even from your teams, and that's no disrespect to the gentleman that they did pick as the coach, his fundamentals are sound. He's accomplished in his own right. The real
Absolutely.
question is, when you have a reality TV series, we are looking for personalities. And those personalities that lead the team are supposed to be the engagement, not just building them up as, oh, yeah, this dude's going to be a big problem for Mikey. And you go,
Yeah.
okay, do you have to tell me that, or should I know it? Because if you have to
So
tell me it, I'm not sure that this was the pick I would have made for the coach. So
exactly.
that
I think
was our perspective.
learning wise, I learned, like I said, I learned a couple of parlor tricks from Tackett. And then Johnny Grippo, we talked about ecological training a lot. So now I've implemented that one day a week in my gym. But that was the only thing, right? Like, really, there was not a whole, we talk about the team together. Like, we trained 2 hours a day and that was it, So a lot of the guys were cutting a ton of weight. It is more so just roll really hard, try to get your weight down. And then that was it. Like I said, I learned a couple wrestling techniques from Tackett. We exchanged a couple concepts, but there was nothing I took away that was like, oh my God, this is game changing. I'm gonna use this for the rest of my life. This is the new go to. There, when it comes to jiu-jitsu side of it, there wasn't a lot. Now I learned a lot, like I said, on the how reality TV works, and get to meet personalities. I learned a lot about my teammates. And there were some really cool things about all of them.
Well,
And also the new too.
I'm glad you said that, because you mentioned something on Egg's show as well, that you said, yeah, these guys were surprised. You have to do like a take once or twice, and then you have to get it from a different angle. And I was like, yes, children, that's TV. Like, that's how this works. And if you're going to be on a reality series, you can grumble all you want, but that's how it works. And one of the things that I think we've seen on the PGF side is that sometimes there might be a resistance. The athletes are like, oh, I'm tired. And I go, okay, you don't think Tom Brady is tired when he would win? Like,
Yep.
it's the gig. And
It's
you have
part of the
only gotten
job.
away with it as not a responsibility because we aren't as big as them. So everything scales up as you get more notoriety, which is really what you want, in addition to the pay. So yeah, it's been a little bit of an onboarding process, but by and large, I feel like a lot of our guys have been very enthusiastic. They really want to try to do a good job. But occasionally there'd be I mean, just from my perspective, if we tell the guys like, hey, you're booked for the after show, every once in a while they'd be like, I don't know, we'll see. And I was like,
It's not a question. It's a
what
statement.
what else do you have to do, guy? They're like, oh
Exactly.
man. And my favorite was at one point I just went up to one of the coaches and I go, hey, can I have him on the post show? And they're like, absolutely. Thanks. Done. All right, they'll be here. So we try to make it there and make it accessible. I did want to ask this before we get into your run of a perfect punched ticket to the PGF. At what point in the conversation do you have this talk with your brother-in-law and say, "Hey, you know this really exciting thing that I'm doing? You're doing too?" Question mark. Like, how did
So
that ever come aboard? Because to me, I'm so much better in my world when I can go away and I don't have to think about like anything else. You have a family member in this cast, which statistically is insane by one part, but on the other part is it's also kind of interesting that you guys both get that experience.
it was really cool because there were so many guys there that were all alone, and like we knew each other, but like I've known Giovanni since he was a blue belt, and we got to catch up and talk and how's life been for the last 8 years. But we don't, he doesn't understand when I say, hey dude, I miss my sister, I miss Cammy, his wife. He doesn't understand, like, oh man, I wonder what my fiance is doing at home right now. I wonder if she's laying down with the dog, or we get to talk about home, and that was a big help. When it came to fighting, I think it kind of helped. Like when I was cutting weight, I was cutting not near as much weight as Carlos was, and so I was sitting in the sauna cutting weight, but I got to be there for him. That's something I would do anyway. And so watching him suffer, watching him go through it, being there for him, uh, kind of kept my mind off the weight cut. So it was a really good thing. It was a really cool thing. I think it was better, a kind of advantage that most athletes didn't have. Now, I will say being on opposite teams was hard because, we would see each other passing at the hotel at night, or we'd see each other at breakfast, catch up on hey, what's your team doing? What's my team doing? And then for the most part, like the first day we hung out a lot, and then the last 2 days we hung out a lot. But after that, or the in between, we didn't see each other too much.
Yeah, this
And so one more thing, when it came about to talk about the show, he got invited to the show 12 weeks before the show. I got a last minute 10-day notice. Hey, you got to fly to Vegas in 10 days if you want to do this. So, he was preparing, he was dieting. I was 18 pounds over on Mother's Day, hanging out with family, and had a cold one in my hand. And then they're like, hey, you're in. You want to do it? And I was like, well, uh, yeah, let's put the beer down and start running miles.
well then what did he say to you? Because I'm sure that potentially wasn't on his bingo card. And follow-up question, you say a cold one. What specific beer did you have in hand?
Dos Equis. For sure, I had Dos Equis in my hand that day. We're
Hold
sitting
on.
back.
What a good company man to have the former sponsor of the UFC. Like you can almost hear John Anik congratulating you for having the official beer sponsor of the UFC.
Right. They called me. It was perfect timing. And yeah, I was like, man. And so for Carlos, I think the big thing for him was he didn't have to go alone. He didn't have to
Yeah.
fly to the airport alone. He didn't have to worry about getting there. Like we got to travel together and travel back together. And it was like I said, we didn't see each other much, so we were still alone, still bored, but we weren't nearly as bored as some of the other guys.
Should. Yeah. I think that is kind of a insane schedule that you guys had to have where you barely see each other, but it did, I'm sure, feel nice to at least, well, not only have each other there, but then be able to compare stories because even though logically I know you guys want to be on the same team, you cover more ground that way. You know,
Absolutely.
there was a moment though when I just kind of looked at you, and no offense to your cowboy hat or anything, but I was like, is he a dual agent here? Like, what's going on here? I don't know. That was just my initial thought. Was I was like, I don't know, this cowboy Austin is gonna come in, tell his uh his family member like, "Hey, listen, they only pass to the left. Little hint, you know."
So there was actually kind of none of that, just because all of his partners, his first opponent was the only one I trained a lot with was Johnny Grippo,
Mhm.
and he studied Johnny Grippo, who hasn't studied Johnny
Yeah.
Grippo since they were starting jiu-jitsu. It's a matchup he missed out on a couple of times at Worlds or Pans, one or two matches off. So it was something we knew were coming down the pipeline anyway. And he, my me time, the way I fought Johnny in the training room, the way he fought Johnny were two different ways.
Yeah.
You know, our styles are just too opposite to compare notes.
Well, it is difficult. You say that you have this nickname of Gumby. So to me,
You
it's like, well, dude, we're not going to roll the same at all either. So I already know that right off the top of the conversation. Speaking of, why don't we get into your actual run for the PGF? Because to me, I love you having that experience. It tells me you're going to be pretty well adjusted for this also insane experience. So, when did you decide you were going to do the trials for this PGF? And then walk us through how you were prepping for it because you mentioned that you would watch the seasons, but it is a different rule set. And I'm a big believer of before you go and compete for a big, big thing, you really have to spend time studying and adapting to that rule set.
100%. So my first experience with PGF rules was actually a really bad one. I did an Enigma event, and the way the bracket worked, there was two sides of a bracket, four on each side. But it wasn't whoever wins all the matches goes to the end. It was whoever had the most points, PGF style rules. So you could have a kill, you could have a draw, you could have a joint lock, and so you fought everyone. So I fought three people on the side. Jet Thompson actually being one of them, and I subbed my way through that half of the bracket. So I scored, I think it was, I don't know, I got two elbow genies and another break. So it was at 8, 11 points on that side of the bracket. It was great. Just another tournament. I'm going out there, the winner gets a grand. And I fought Nick Mataya, and I didn't understand the rules of stalling. You tell me stalling, I think of holding a guy. I don't think a lack of action. So I go out there. I end up getting three penalties. I didn't realize the Ernest was on the bottom guy. Um, I had a get referee's position turned into a terrible time. Obviously I landed bottom side control, bottom mount, and then I get more referee position penalties from bottom side control and bottom mount. And me going, man, I'm getting held down by a grown man. I'm not giving my back. What are you telling me to do? Getting penalties, getting frustrated. And that is what gave me the insight on the Dallas qualifier to do better or do differently. Really, it's all board, no brakes, all gas, 100%. And I made the decision to do it. As actually my second match. Cody Welty told me about it. He's like, "Hey man, 2 months December, there's going to be a qualifier." He's like, "We should do it together." I was like, "Man, you know what? Let's do it." It's a week after Nogi Worlds. I was already making the weight class the week before. I had a good camp for Worlds Nogi. I was like, if I feel good after Worlds Nogi, I'll just follow through with it, and we'll make it 2 weeks of competing in a row. And making that decision, having that Enigma experience of understanding, hey, penalties are called no matter where you are, and it's not a stalling penalty; it's a lack of action penalty. Uh, did I cut out there?
You did just a little bit, but it's okay. I think we got the basic gist of what you were saying there, so that was the important thing. Because when you were doing it, it just made it sound like you were turning it into a trap song. You were like a lack of action, and I was like, oh, still musical. So kudos to you, sir. But I think you're right. I think there are certain tricks you do learn as you go when you're playing in the PGF rule set. So, for example, when my students are about to go compete, I almost designate one guy to be, say, a point keeper. And I say, like, get used to this or get used to that. And then I throw different scenarios at them. And for PGF, turtle can be a help to you, but sometimes getting out of turtle is such a beast when somebody's so good at attacking you from that position that then they can almost force a stalling call. They can force an action call. And you really have to spend time in every position finding ways to make intelligent movement. So that way the referees are inclined to see, like, hey, listen, I'm trying to move in this position. I'm trying to make things go because in our room, just so you're aware, what I like to do, this is very silly, but I'm a huge pro wrestling fan. So sometimes when the guy's shoulders are on the mats, I will literally count like a pro wrestling pin, not a wrestling pin, a pro wrestling pin. So when they hear the third tap happen, they try to kick out. And aside from some dumb bragging rights, what I'm trying to tell them is I would rather you start learning how to move than just give up points. And that you understand in the safety of the room, I can see how you move and where you go. And if you get the turtle in a certain amount of time, they don't get the points. So, like, create action. It might feel more tiring in those rounds, but that's usually when I scale down the time so we can specifically train those things. So, yeah, this is a big area of interest to me. And I'm glad that you spent the time doing it. Let's talk about the day itself. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have something to say there?
I was gonna say on the training side of it, when it comes to the other tournaments, IBGF and other things like that, I've always been a guy that's tap them the first 5 minutes or bust.
Mm,
So I think the rule set already played in my hands very well. I had a good style for it. I just had to make the adjustments of understanding that it's not a stalling call and really it's just a lack of action call. Having that mindset shift is like, oh, I just have to go easy, no problem. We can go. And understanding if I keep the gas going, they can get a lack of action call just by defending themselves, just by, putting those elbows in and being like that guy that's like, I'm just not going to get tapped. And then I get to start top turtle basically easy. That was a big game changer we had. We had someone's timer set in 20-second call. So it's like every time you didn't move for 20 cents, we give you the call. And then I realized like, hey, I can keep a higher pace than most people.
mm.
And then if you're just defending yourself for 20 cents, you're getting that call either way. Even if you're defending yourself, you're not trying to do something. And then it just opened up more and more opportunities in the training room that, I thrived off of. So it was a good training. I think it's a good rule set for me. Just had to understand that it is a go forward rule set, not a let's be strategic. Let's keep the match slow and at a monotone pace. It's a higher pace than IBJJF or ADCC, but you're not worried about a guy scoring one advantage or 1 point or 2 points and holding you. Like that's not how it works. You have to tap me.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. I think that is an exploration for everybody to kind of play with something a little bit different. And I think that's why I welcome it so much. I'm always happy to see when our guys are testing the waters that way. And I have some friends now who have done some of the trials and they tell me it's unlike other tournaments that they do. So the minute they kind of get into that world, they're like, wait, oh my God, yeah, I'm so much more tired now. And I go, it drains you, man. It's hard to replicate that. So I find that any way that you can make something simulated in your gyms, really try to get that involvement in. And you took it from the offensive side, which I think is incredible because now you get certain rewards for pushing that action and for being there. So I think it's two sides of that same coin of playing within the rule sets, seeing what works for you. And as you mentioned, a big difference between IBJJF is we've seen so many times where no action ends this match. And then all of a sudden we're just looking at somebody going, well, I guess we got to flip a coin for a winner. We're not really sure how that went. So, yeah, I think that's a big thing the PGF has really improved upon. Let's talk about your very first match at that tournament experience. So, walk us through. We're going to go match by match. And, you were very clear on mentioning elbow genie. So, it seems like that's a pretty big premium to you. That's a very good selling point. I would, when you get on that draft stage, maybe drive home those elbow genies. But for you, walk us through that day.
So sorry about that.
You're okay. Walk us through your first match, my man.
So the first match, go out there. I'm feeling good. Like I told the guys when I started the day, I woke up and I knew it was my day. I felt really strong, felt good, and I went out there. The guy we're gonna wrestle. I tied up with him. I felt like he had an understanding that I was gonna pull guard, right, really close in there. So I ended up doing like a kind of a Tomonagi throw, landed on top, and I was gonna get the match over quick. I think it was a 23-second submission. Um, Tomonaga him over my head, landed on top guard, sit back on his leg, and the world's my oyster from there. Once I wrap your leg, you're done. And that was the first match. It was quick, just enough to kind of get a big breath in, exhale, and go. And
Nice.
it went perfect.
When you're on the sidelines and you're kind of taking this in, do you watch other people when they're having their matches? Because you like you mentioned, it's your day. Are you just so in the zone you can go in back and kind of stay warm, or are you kind of staying with the action as it goes?
So when it came to my second one, is actually my friend and training partner Cody Welty. He represents the team. It's about 5 minutes away, but he cross trains a lot with us. And like I said, he's the one that convinced me to sign up for the trials. So for the second match, I actually coached him to win his first match. He had a quick sub as well. I think maybe it was 30 seconds, great inside heel hook. And we were matched up second round. So my second round, I've trained with him so much. I knew his tendencies. I know what he does. And actually had the quickest submission today, 13 seconds. Pulled guard right into his leg and Ioki locked him. And, we do enough in training that we know once we're there, we're there.
Okay, let's discuss this. You once having a UFC BJJ experience with a family member. Okay. Now you go to this PGF trials and you have a friend. I have to tell you, as somebody who would be paying for these experiences or paying to compete against you, I might be like, hey, bud, why are we both doing this? We both have a dream, but I literally paid to go up against my buddy who's right down the street or who I cross train with. So I would have the nicest of words. What were the words exchanged between you guys after that match? Because if that's your boy, it is bittersweet because you want to advance and win.
It is bittersweet, and we talked about it before. We actually drove up together. We split the hotel together. We had another teammate as well doing the same. And my best friend, we've had me and my best friend Clay Mayfield have had 14 matches together. We're 12-2, and it's just part of the game. We both are driving for that same goal. We knew that one of the three of us in the car were going to take it, and we were just going to leave it out there on the mat. And it is what it is. We do it in the training room. No hard feelings. We talked about before the match and after the match. Hey, man, no hard feelings. But if you're going to beat me, you better go and win the rest of it. You can't beat me. You can't be a slouch about it. And, you know, didn't go lose. So that his words were like, all right, you beat me. Now you better win.
Mm.
So.
I'm glad that you guys have that relationship because these would potentially be relationship, friendship enders for me. I'd be like, listen, dude, don't come to my place for Christmas this year. We're not seeing each other. I'll see you next year, man. So I love the fact that you guys are competitive in that way. And that I will tell you, as crazy as that is, I have seen it happen with people who potentially would not be good in those rounds or as good in those high competitive rounds without the rounds they had working together. So it's like, as weird as it is to be with that group of people, you all create this bond where, yeah, you might have to go up against each other, but they're also attributing to your success. They're contributing, they're making sure they're helping you in those rounds that make you the person that you are so that you can continue to do good things. So I think there's always kind of a good story about that. Let's talk about your third match, sir.
So my third match, I watched his. He had only one match previous, whereas I had two. I watched it, and he fought the guy that actually had one leg out there, and he played a very outside passing, slow game. Trying to like his whole goal was to grind you out to the decision or grind you out, make you tired, and then choke you. And I knew that wasn't going to be the case. I couldn't let it be the case. And I after studying a little bit of his first match, and I couldn't find any footage of him on, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all the things, all the typical places I was looking. Um, couldn't find anything on him. So watching his first match, I knew that he would be hard to enter on the legs. If I wanted to, it'd be 3, 4, 5 minutes. So I was like, you know what? This is a great opportunity to show that I have more than just leg locks. I have chokes. I have strangles. I can get the kill. I can get the 6 pointer. So I knew if I could close my guard, I would choke him. And that's what I did. As soon as he finally, defended a leg entry the wrong way, I got to close my guard and I was checkmate. Rubber guard. I did like a far side arm trap with the rubber guard leg to isolate out the far arm and then slapped on the triangle and it was done. It was about 3 minutes. It was slower than I wanted. I wanted to get to the close guard a little sooner. But I think after about the second or third leg attempt, he knew that I was just doing it to close the guard. So I think I ended up going leg attempt, K guard, arm bar, then to the close guard. And from there, it was really once I closed my guard, I knew it was mine. I could feel his reactions. He wasn't standing up, because he knew if he stood up, I was getting his legs. And then it was just a battle of, okay, can I get the rubber guard high enough? And then once it was high enough, it was done.
So you touched on something here, and this is something where I feel I relate to you a lot. You're a tape study guy. I cannot tell you how much tape study I really do enjoy, and I'm just starting to teach my students how to do it because they're in their early stages. But one time they came for a session and they're expecting these hard rounds, and they're kind of like grumbling, and I go, "All right, we're watching some TV today, guys," and they're like, "Wait, what?" And I go, "We're gonna watch it first, but we're gonna fix it." So really, it's not just a watch. You guys all have learning disabilities. You have to watch and learn as you go. So really, we're like stopping and going. So we do one at a time, and then we break it up and kind of fix that. Where did you start tape studying, and like how much per week do you find yourself doing?
Per week, I don't find myself doing a lot, but when it's competition and I know I'm having certain matches against certain athletes, I am tape studying a ton. Because really, when I tell my guys to tape study, it's not okay. I can watch, let's say, Jet Thompson versus Oliver Taza, and I'm not looking to see how that match actually plays out. I'm looking to see if they end up in the positions I know I'm going to put them in. And then what are their best tendencies, their five best and their five worst. So I typically try to look at a guy's five best wins and his five most recent losses and then kind of see where I fit into that. Um, I know, like, I think this was a thing that made Jet really strong in his first PGF appearance. No one knew he was. But then when I fought Jet, there was a lot more footage on him over the seasons of, where he got caught, which leg he got caught on, how does he play close guard? I knew I was going to end up in the close guard. So who did best at getting out of the close guard and how did they do it? And so I do it a lot when I know I have a tournament and I know I'm gonna have a match with X, Y, or Z person, or they're in my bracket, so it's a potential match. When it comes to the daily or weekly, maybe it's one instructional a week, one video on something I'm practicing or working on. It'll be instructional based, not competition match breakdowns.
Gotcha. Well, sir, the momentum is good. We're now going to your fourth match. What happens there?
Sort of fought a super strong kid. I think he's actually going to do the Las Vegas qualifier and the uh, got Philly Phenoms qualifier this next weekend as well. And I watched him beat my other teammate in the bracket, Tanner Marsh. He caught a good arm bar, good Troy bar. So I didn't know too much about it. He was the one that had the most highlights on Instagram. So I knew he had a good Aoki lock and I knew he had a good arm bar. But besides that, those were only the two tendencies I saw. And so I was going out there playing my game, pulled guard, got into the Aoki lock in the first 30 seconds, got the elbow genie. And it was quick, it was easy. And I think he didn't really make any adjustments. He didn't know my game enough or have enough time to study me, I guess, to know that that was my strongest tendency. So it was a quick match. But then my fourth match turned into also my fifth match. We rematched. And after he experienced my first round, he knew what the tendency was. He actually escaped the same submission twice. And so I had to make adjustments on the fly. And then as soon as I was able to put good top pressure, and what led to the straight ankle lock, because I knew he would defend the Aoki lock now, was a guard, we call him knee clamp guard in here. And as soon as I put him there, he kind of didn't know how to react. He treated it more as a sallow injury or single leg ace injury and backstepped, which was the wrong move. And then I straight ankled him. And then I think that was only about a minute 40. So it was right outside. It was more than, it was almost double outside the elbow genie, which I was trying to go four elbow genies in one choke. And he stopped that mission, sadly. Because my goal
Well,
was to be the most point scoring qualifying guy. And I missed it. I think I'm tied right now.
who are you tied with?
I want to say it was Salisbury.
Okay. I'll have to
I have to check out the breakdown guys. They did it. I want to say I was tied because it was this year 8-6. Was it 21?
Yeah, yeah.
Unless it was 21.
Don't worry. I watched that show with Abe and Egg, and I have informed them they're going to be insulted all season long. that is my MO because they had a moment where they were discussing their love of Moneyball, and I was like, they didn't win in Moneyball, but I love stats, so
How
I'm a
about the
big
stats? We could say more matches. You
it's
know, I
yeah.
have over 250 matches at black belt. We throw those all into the stat performer, and we're going to see a much different stat outcome. You know,
uh, That's again, I'm such a stats guy that I actually sent Abe a text today, and I was just like, "Listen, dude, just as long as you know I'm calling you a nerd all season long," and he laughed, and I was like, "I think we're gonna be okay." He's a good guy, and they were doing this thing where they were showing who could potentially go first in the draft, and I really do feel like it's a hard thing to fully compare apples to oranges here because there are some similarities, there are some differences. And a lot of this is going to come down to gut feeling. And I feel like that's part of why you guys pitching yourselves and you getting a relationship with these teams is so vital because you all have arguments or points that you can make in your favor. I'm going to bring one up for you because even though you didn't hit your exact goal, I think one little speech and debate brain here, little thing that could work in your favor is what was your total match time for those 5 matches on that day?
you have to think about that. That's here 23 seconds, 12 seconds. That was 35. Three and a half was right over 4 minutes. Another 45 seconds, 4:45. About 6 minutes, I think, total match time.
So
Maybe
if
6:20.
I were you, I'd be running with the fact that in the time that you might have a match and some change, you finished 5 opponents, or technically 4, but you finished 5 different matches almost in the time you would have one PGF match.
Agreed. I think one thing too that people don't talk about, which was crazy to see considering as a Texas qualifier, there was so much steep talent in Texas, is something to talk about as well. Is each qualifier looks different depending on the order athletes sign up in. Me and Cody talked about this after, and actually me and the guys from the Kings talked about this. I was the first athlete to sign up for the qualifier.
Mhm.
So you put a strong high level black belt in the bracket, and it's we call it the in my gym we call it the Tainan effect. Tainan Dopra does this all the time when he signs up for an open. You sign up, and then no one else signs up. That
Mm.
bracket becomes a dead bracket. So I think that could have been a Henderson on why the qualifier, because they talked about how there was only 18 matches at my qualifier, and then the others had more matches. Well, you know, how notable was the guy that signed up, first, and how long was he signed up for? So I don't know. I think I can definitely sell myself as a fast sub-hunting cowboy, but who knows? With the substats, they're showing the qualifiers the differences. I think there's differences for underlying reasons, that they didn't talk about.
Yeah, I don't know yet. I love it as an exploration. I think what stats do is I think they give us great conversational points to go off of, or at least things to consider. And they really do drop out clear, maybe not the best investment, or if you are making this investment, here are your risk factors. So I think those are great conversational points. But you're right, you can't quantify that if somebody is that good, and that does happen. Believe me, I myself will sometimes look and see, like, did that dude sign up? What am I in for that day? Like, I'll be like, I want a war in 2 weeks, not 1 week. I don't know. I'll
Yeah.
think about it. We'll see if we go. And my favorite is I'm in the old person division where sometimes if one of us doesn't sign up, the other person doesn't have a dance partner. So
Mhm.
we're now in the space of just being like, hey man, are you signing up for this? Like just literally messaging each other and be like, are you doing this one? I'll be like, I wasn't, but you know what? Do you need somebody? Yeah, I'll do it. All right, great. So we also have
Exactly.
that kind of relationship where we just go like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna make you drop down to face these young kids, aren't they? No, I'm gonna show up, dude. We're good.
Yeah. Well, and this effect, it happens more than you think. My brother-in-law is Cross Enrique, the UFC BJJ champ. We've talked about him, and he was going to do a cash prize tournament. And he messaged the guy and was like, "Hey, I'm going to sign up. Send me the link." And the guy goes, "Awesome. I'll hold the price for you at the cheaper price,
Mhm.
but please don't sign up. Let's sign up like the last day you're allowed to sign up." And I think it's an effect that happens. I think it's a popular thing. Who wants to go out there week before Christmas, cut the weight to fight a guy that could sub you in 13 seconds.
For sure. And you're right. It's a phenomenon that is happening. Let's discuss, though. You already mentioned your fifth match. For you, though, what does the win feel like? What does it feel like to actually be in the mix for this season of the PGF?
Feels good. Feels really good. I was nervous because with the rule set, I trained much better for it, but still at that point I only had one actual go at it, one time ever competing before in the rule set. So I was worried about the little things can happen. Maybe pulling guard from a distance, and these are all questions I asked the day before. So it was a relief. It felt like that's your first warm up lap kept to the same pace you were trying to get at. It was that relief of like, okay, now I know I can do well in the PGF. The job's still not over. I still got to go out there and perform at the PGF. But I knew that it was that, okay, the warm up lap went good. Now I can go out there and I can do my best. And now it's time to start getting in camp. It's time to start training. Enjoy 2 weeks of Christmas and New Year's, and now I finished my training session and then hopped on this podcast. It's time to get back to work and to go out there and show everybody why I believe I'm the best and the best for season 9 of the PGF.
Love that. Let's get to this, though. This is your first time on the show. So, what we do here on the show for first timers is origin story. So, we'd like to know, where does jujitsu find its way into your life? Were you playing other sports beforehand? And where does this interest start to find its way for you?
Man, the interest started young. My brother was really interested in MMA. Yeah, he's actually an MMA fighter now, professional one. And he was watching Frank Mir versus Brock Lesnar, and he thought that was really cool. We were homeschooled kids. My dad traveled for work. My mom was a stay-at-home mom that homeschooled us and taught us everything. And we were looking for something kind of keep us in shape and keep us physical and something to do. And I was only like 10, and my brother really wanted to do it, and it was inside of a karate slash jiu-jitsu gym. So we started doing both, and we like it. For me, it's just something to do. My brother falls in love with it instantly. Natural talent, really, really good. And then me and my brother and sister start, and me and my sister just kind of do it to do it. She's so little at the time; it doesn't. She's like 4 or 5, so she's just doing the thing, and I'm just there. I'm doing it more for a social thing than anything else. And the thing that really changed my life around jujitsu was my parents separated. So I needed kind of an outlet. I needed something to do with my time and somewhere to put my time. And being homeschooled, I didn't want to be at home. So I started to 3 hours a day just train jujitsu. And then as I started winning in tournaments and doing tournaments, I started falling in love even more and more with that thrill, that excitement of competing. And, losing hurts really bad. So you don't want to lose again. But then winning feels so good. It's like a drug you're chasing. And that's where it just started spiraling. And then, we obviously get really into it. Me and my brother, we start training a ton. We start competing at Worlds and Pan Am events. And then from there, we go and we open our own gym. Life happens. We end up moving back to our home city. Our coach got a job down here. And then he didn't last long. Him and the coach had a falling out after about 6 months. And my life settled back down here. We met my stepdad. My brother met his wife, and we opened a gym at 17 and 18 years old. And obviously, there's a lot more to unpack there, but that's kind of the brief and short. And, it's train every day now.
Love that. Let's go backwards. For you, can you describe your very first jiu-jitsu experience, though? Like, what did the class feel like? What did the room look like to you? Were you rolling the first day? Feel free to describe that in more detail for us.
Man, the first place I started was Elite MMA. So it was an MMA gym in a mall that was dying. It was a dying mall, and it had a cage in the back, and it was like kind of a grungy gym, black walls all the way around, but super welcoming people. My coaches were great. I was obviously in the kids class. I was only 10, and they invite us on the mat. We start to do it, and we're going through the day. I'm learning what a turtle is. I'm learning how to escape it. And then I remember it comes time. I said, "All right, buddy, now we're gonna spar." And like, "Oh, do you want to spar?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll do it." Like, I don't know what this is, but I'll do it. And then this kid tackles me. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm elbows down. I'm trying not to get choked. They tell me something hurts to tap. I'm tapping from mount. They're like, "Hey, you can't do that. Like, he's just sitting on top of you. Only if he tries to like kill you, basically, can you do this." So then I get choked, and I'm like, man, I don't ever want to be there again. And then, the kid, he wasn't like helping me, he was beating me up. And the coach starts going, "Oh, you need to do this, you need to do that." And it was one of those things I remember like trying it and getting arm barred and being like, okay, they said I gotta do this. So I kind of like pulled mount again and then did the thing they told me to do. And it was a wild thing as a kid. Like, I had no idea that I could feel so helpless and that someone would beat me up like that. And I would be, just helpless. So being helpless kind of made me, oh, I want to do that again. And we came back and we tried again and again. And, I just started to kind of figure out now this is the thing we do. We try to hold each other down.
The follow-up question that we have here to that opening statement is always, when did you fall in love with jiu-jitsu? A lot of people do this as a hobby. That's perfectly fine. They don't necessarily think they're going to fight. But in your particular case, it inspired you so much that you eventually went to opening up your own gym, which now you and your brother both have gyms. And as per what my ears heard, both have over about 200 students. So at some point, it becomes more than just a hobby, it becomes a passion. So, when did you actually fall in love with the sport of grappling?
I think I realized I fell in love with it around 14 or 13 to 14 years old when my parents separated. It started to be the thing. It was like being a homeschooled kid, I was in an adult class early. I excelled pretty well at jujitsu, not super early on, but later in the career, 4 or 5 years in. And it started to be that thing where I was like, all right, home life's tough. I'm going to go there. And then I started to realize, like, even when things smoothed out, I was still choosing to go 2 and 3 times a day. And then I was started to realize, like, I was competing, as a kid, maybe 10 or 12 times a year, one a month, just about. Mom was traveling all around, taking us. We would work the tournaments to pay for our registration. And I started to realize this is not something I just do anymore. This is something I enjoy doing. And if I don't do it, it really, like, I think what got me is one time I got sick when I was, like, 14. I, like, couldn't go train, and I was, like, really irritable because I couldn't train. I was, like, mad that, like, I was sick. I was mad that I had to stay home. I was like, "Oh, this is like a withdrawal." Like, I love this thing. I could never stop doing it, and then once I realized I couldn't stop doing it, I was like, "Oh, I'm just this now. This is what I do." And, then it turned into, I fell in love with it so much, I was like, "I'm gonna be a world champion," was my goal. And then as I got better teaching, we started teaching. I was, I think, 13. And once I got kicked out of the kids' class, they were actually like, "Hey, Austin, you're going to start doing the adult class, but still show up because we're going to put you with us now and you're going to start helping teach." So, like, one week I was in the class with my peers, and the next week I was teaching my peers. And I always did that to help, and I thought I was just being helpful in the beginning. And really, what I learned is I was learning a skill that I love. Because it's great to go out there and win, but it's even better to go coach a kid to go out there and do the same thing you did and win.
Absolutely, man. Now, not everybody is going to open a school when they're 16, 17. I don't know that I advise it. Um, just because it's hard, but it doesn't mean it's impossible. And you guys are proof that it can happen. So, what is your best advice for those who are looking at a young age to start their own school?
Man, it was a whirlwind. The situation just happened to be what it was, and we were kind of down here with nowhere to train, and we decided to make the leap. It's actually my brother and my stepdad who were really pushing for it. They're like, "We can do this. We can do this. We can do this." My mom's like, I can be down for the ride, but like, as a purple belt, in her 30s, she didn't really see herself as being a gym owner. And then for me, I'm like, "Hey guys, I'm a blue belt. I can teach kids, and like, I really want to be good at this thing, and I don't know if I can do that by myself." So I was really scared to take the leap. And then once we took the leap, I realized that it, the advice I would give is hard. The advice I give to everyone that asks me is they want to open a gym. I tell them not to because it's a lot of learning what not to do. You think you have it figured out, then you learn why that doesn't work, and then you think you have it figured out, you learn why that doesn't work. And I'm 9.5 years into owning gyms now, and I'm still learning things that do and don't work. But inside of that, though, I've learned it, and it is very rewarding. It's a big thing. And I remember being that 16-year-old kid saying, "Hey, we can't do this." So a year into it, having 120 students going, "Man, we're doing the thing. It's working."
Mhm. Good for you, man. That's so cool to see because yeah, owning a gym is very difficult. It makes you grow up a lot faster. So there's a lot of upscale that happens for you. And I'm sure it defined a large part of your character as you did it. It's just now that you've been
Massive.
there, I think that you have likely told a lot of people, like, hey, you can maybe just go to class for right now and enjoy that ride for what that is.
For sure, and I think a lot of people don't realize the sacrifice. The sacrifice in jujitsu, when you're this young doing something like this, partying is not the answer. You don't get to go party. Me and my fiance now, we look at a good time as picking up sushi and watching Netflix. That's about the extent the party was. But it was the same when I was 17. I go teach, train, eat, work out, and there was no party with friends, there was no going out to clubs, there was no house parties, there was no drinking on the weekends. The party on the weekends was, I'm going to splurge and we're going to go eat Buffalo Wild Wings and have a burger instead of chicken. And that was our party, and we're out till 9:30 instead of 8. And then we're going to bed and we're waking up and we're training Monday morning, or Sunday. Or there was none of that. That's a sacrifice you have to be willing to make. Um, I'm glad I did. It's paid off massively, and I've learned through my life as I got older. I did a couple of those things. Went out. Not saying I partied a lot, maybe 2 or 3 times in my life, but I learned that just it's not my scene. My scene's here on the mats, living life, training, getting better, and so I'm glad I made those decisions young because I don't think I would have had fun any other way.
Yeah,
Or maybe I would have had fun. I wouldn't have had the fulfillment.
for sure. I like to tell people I put things into a jujitsu equation when they start mentioning doing stuff. So if they're like, "Hey, let's go do this," and I go, I'm not going to be able to train, so I'm probably not going to do that. Or if they mention like even football, like I would watch football pretty religiously, but then I go, oh, I can't train on Sundays and good open mats, and then I get to train with other people. So I went from like a couple days of doing like a beat ups, hanging out with the boys, watching some games to, hey guys, you have fun. There's an open mat I'm gonna go to. And you
Yeah.
kind of realize you're kind of stepping out, but it's for your own good because you realize this is truly what you love.
Exactly. It's what you would rather do.
Yeah.
You're doing something else to fill your time, but now you're doing something that is truly, productive to your time.
And I would find that if a lot of your time is spent in class, the real application of going to those open mats and meeting new people. I never know who I'm going to meet. Sometimes when I'm rolling, I meet another fellow practitioner or somebody who I commentate their fights or their matches just because of one random day. Or they like in the future, they're like, didn't we? And I go, yeah, we did train. That was on a Sunday on this. So that networking also is very important when you're trying to be the friendly neighborhood BJJ commentator slash
For sure.
podcaster. So there is that. There's this kind of thing though that you've mentioned with all of your family members training. I have no other family members training. So when you mentioned the abundance, this network, how did everybody go with it? Like how did you guys get to the point where you could convince people? And it sounds like were you the ones to take on the heat first and then everybody else came along? Or were there other people who were maybe at different points of their journey as you guys were starting?
So when it started me, my brother, and my sister all started at the same time. My brother was the forefront of that, saying, "Hey, I really want to do this." I was along for the ride, and so was my sister. And then I liked it. I fell in love with it first. And then as we started training more, my mom, about 2.5 years, hopped into it. And then she really enjoyed it and she really loved it. And it became a good outlet for her. And so she wanted to learn like how points works and how all this stuff we're going to tournaments and how that's working. And so we go to that, she starts training, we start doing that together. And then inside of that, that's where she meets her now husband. We trained with him as he was a white belt and coming up through the ranks, and then they started dating. Um, then along the way, my brother met his wife, and then she started training. And then through jiu-jitsu, through competing in tournaments, that's when my sister met her husband, Carlos. And then, he starts training. My brother has a daughter and she started training. And then I met my now fiance through her being a white belt in the gym one day. She walks in and, starts flirting with the coach. And I saved her off for a year. I was like, I don't date students. I don't date students. Nope. We can be friends, but I don't date students. And then she wore me down and here we are. So it turned into this whole thing where everyone but my real dad trains, and he's tried it. He knows about it. He sees it. He supports it, but he just doesn't train himself. But other than that, we're a jujitsu family that all train together. Everyone.
Are there times when grappling is happening when you guys have family get-togethers then? Because that's too many people who train. And I know when I'm around my friends, I'm trying to beat them up constantly and vice versa. So does that translate to outside during like a Thanksgiving or a Christmas or whatever you guys get together?
All the time. My mom will be like, we're talking, we're hanging out, and it's Christmas or it's Thanksgiving. We're talking jiu-jitsu and Hodger versus Buchesha or Gordon's this or this, that's that. And then she'll be like, we're gonna not talk about jiu-jitsu for the next 30 minutes. Puts the phone on the timer on that table, and then we're all just sitting around being quiet. She goes, okay, okay, go ahead, and we just continue talking about it. And we'll get together, we'll all go to my brother's house to watch who's number one or the new UFC, if it's a big fight coming up, or it doesn't really matter. We'll pick a ton of different times that whether it's jujitsu or MMA related, we get together. That's our nights together. We're watching the PGF or we're watching who's number one or we're watching UFC BJJ and we're all having pizza or whatever. If someone's cutting weight, we're not having pizza. We're eating, rice cakes. And it's nice because everyone in the room understands the struggle on some level.
Mm. That is particularly cool. And, I can appreciate the families that do train together. That's super cool and unique. And it's not quite like the Gracies where you were born into it. You guys all found it. You guys started the journey first and then shared it with the rest of your family. And the fact that they also found love for it means you're going to speak this common language forever. So I think that's a
Exactly.
really, really cool thing for you guys. So
And now we're starting to have like the Gracies where my niece was just born. We have two nieces born into, or three nieces born into it now. Uh, that they're all going to start training, and it's going to be kind of like the Gracie family, where it's going to be they start to take a couple up here and then work their way down. I do
well,
apologize for this Southeast Texas weather. It is
don't worry
up
about
and
that. I
down.
think there might be something I'm going to be able to do to soften it a little bit. So hopefully people don't hear it and they just think we're talking absurd. And if you guys are complaining about that, just know I've done a polish on the sound and it sounds prettier. So there is that.
If you are, just know, come down to Southeast Texas and you'll understand the pain. It rains cats and dogs down here.
Brother, listen, we out here in Los Angeles, we get a little rain and then we're just like, so we are not we realize how spoiled we are out here. But yeah, a little bit of rain. Sometimes I had one interviewee recently tell me a couple weeks ago, we're trying to figure out a day. So whenever people are in LA, I ask them to come do it in person. And I'm a big believer of before we do the interview, we're gonna roll for about an hour. And it's my way to get to know the guest. We train a little bit, we talk shop. A lot of times they're better than me. Sometimes I might be a little bit better than them, but by most part, it's usually pretty fun and back and forth and silly training. This one dude, when it was raining, was like, it's far and it's raining. And I go, bro, it's like 40 minutes, bro. Like, I don't know how to tell you this. Like, the rain's not going to kill you. I go, you can just say you don't want to come. He's like, no, 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 I do. It's raining and I don't want to be unsafe. And I was like, all right. I'm
He
almost
didn't know
taking that
what
as a
Texas life is.
exactly. That's why I was like, brother, our freeways are pretty clean. I think you'd be okay. It's not like I'm asking you to come through snow and bring some chains on to come to roll with me. I get it.
W- We're in the marshland of Texas over here, so it rains quite a bit. Uh, it's it's rough.
Yeah, I believe that. No, no, no. It actually sounds pretty good. Well, sir, since we have already kind of covered the main bases, we're going to put a pin on the conversation right here. We're going to see you very soon for the PGF. But what I would love to do is give you an opportunity to plug, promote, give shout outs to any sponsors, and the camera is going to go back on you. Feel free to tell the people and thank them, whoever they may be, that make you the grappler that you are today.
A big thank you to my family and my team, right? My family's the best. Everybody here at OBJJ. If you guys are ever in Southeast Texas and want to stop by and train, more than welcome to stop by and train with me. I'm welcome to all guests. Any shade, color, size, belt doesn't matter. Come train and come have some fun with me. Big shout out to Jiu-Jitsu Sensei. They're an app that's putting instructionals together. I just recently partnered with them. It is $5 a month right now, and I will be posting regular instructional content down there. So download their app if you get a chance. And then I have two seminars coming up, one in McAllen, Texas, January 24th. That's the very bottom of Texas. If you guys are in driving distance and want to come down and train, it's going to be a great time. And then I have another seminar February 7th in Kansas. So if you're near Kansas or can make the drive to Kansas, go follow me on my social medias. You'll see all my seminars and things posted there. Everything is at Gumby Jiu Jitsu. And thank you guys for tuning in and watching. And if anyone's ever interested in seminars, I'm running a great deal right now. So just reach out and contact me and we'll get something going.
Austin, I appreciate you and your time. I am looking forward to getting to know you better this season at the PGF. I likely will be there, I think, live for the most part. We're still working all that stuff out. But by and large, I'm going to see you there. And I'm stoked to get to talk to you in person and see you thrive out there, man. So, congratulations
Yes,
to
sir.
you on this. I'm going to close this up and then I'm going to say bye to you off air in just a second here. But my thanks to you for being on the show and congratulations once again for punching your way to the PGF. I wish you nothing but continued success, young man.
Thank you, sir.
All right, folks, that was Austin. That's back on me. Few quick reminders: like, comment, subscribe wherever you are watching right now. Here is your question. I told you I would give you a prompt if you didn't know what you wanted to comment on by the time you made it to this part of the video. Your prompt is as follows: how have you convinced somebody else, be it a family member or a friend, to do jujitsu? Austin may hold the record for one of the biggest gets of all time. Like, literally, if jiu-jitsu is a pyramid scheme, you're looking at the top of the pyramid right now. But if you have ever talked to anybody into doing jiu-jitsu, tell me in the comment section how'd you do it. So, would love to hear those sorts of things. Additionally, you can also find us at patreon.com/grappling hour for just $5 a month. You can check our stuff out. And for a few extra dollars, extra bonus content like roast raff, tape studies, match of the year, fight of the year segments, the grappling hour challenge. We only give those little things to those who do the premium, and you guys get at least two things per month that nobody else gets. So we do try to go out of our way, and it's really just supporting us. And yes, I will remind you there is a free version of the goodies and the stuff that we do there at patreon.com/grappling hour. Also, if you'd be so kind, you like the grappling hour, you want to buy a t-shirt, a hoodie, a tank top, head on over to raffesparza.com/merch. And if you want to continue the discussions that we have here on the show, all you have to do is find us on our Discord at Grappling Hour. Ladies and gents, that's going to do it for us here at the show. We thank you for tuning in. We hope you have a great rest of your day. But for now, that'll do it for us. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.